Hello everyone, welcome to the Everyday Uni Student. My name is Andrew. In light of the recruitment season, many of you would be applying to different internships at different firms. However, during this process, you would likely encounter a type of psychometric testing called the situational behavioral test, or what others may call the personality test. There isn't actually a lot of information available online to guide you on how to answer this type of question. Therefore, I've created this video in order to show you my methodology to guide you in achieving the best result possible. Let's get right into it. Firstly, I'd like to start with a disclaimer. This lecture is based on my personal experience with psychometric tests. The methods discussed is indicative of my understanding on how to answer these questions and may not actually represent the correct answer. The focus of this lecture is to teach you the methodology in answering these questions, and it may not be suitable for everyone or for every single role. The first thing to understand about these forms of situational judgment questions or personality tests is that there's not really a right answer, but there is somewhat of a preferable answer. So let me explain. What happens is a firm would engage with a psychometric test provider. So for example, Korn Ferry or Pymetrics, just to name a few. Once they approach these firms will carry out these psychometric testing using their platform on candidates. After the candidates complete their testing, the firm will produce a report outlining the main attributes of the candidate. After this report is sent to the company will assess what they want in a candidate against the report. And if desirable, they will progress you to the next stage. Let's start with this question. I'm comfortable communicating with people. So the first thing you must be aware is that different firms actually look for different attributes. So for example, if you are applying to be a junior consultant at the MBB, they will be looking for skills such as communication, teamwork, and creativity because you are trying to problem solve. This is quite different. So supposing you're applying to become a software engineer at Microsoft, the attributes they'll be looking for is more technical, more independence. So firstly, the first thing you should always do is to outline the set of skills that this firm is looking for. So you can start off with the firm's website, looking at the job description and seeing what they want. And now we should apply what we've learned of what this firm wants into the question. So this question, I'm comfortable communicating with people, is clearly testing a person's communication ability and their confidence. In most firms, I would suggest that communication is actually a vital element. So I would not be reluctant to put the answer as most like me. I understand some of you guys, when answering this question, you're reluctant to go for the two extremes, so least and most. However, for skill sets that are so desirable in a candidate, you should not be reluctant to go the extreme ends. So the right answer to this question, as I would suggest, is most like me. Let's have a look at the next question. I tend to be calm most of the time. When answering a question, you must first look at the attribute that the question is testing. So for this specific question, it is testing your ability to keep calm. So a lot of jobs will put you under stress and a lot of pressure. So the ability to keep calm is actually quite important. So for the answer of this question, I would also suggest is most like me. Looking at the next question, I am quick to show my feelings when under pressure. So when you first see this question, it raises a red flag because it is not actually testing your ability to keep calm, but actually the ability to control your emotions. So unlike the previous question, it is the ability to be calm. This is the ability to control, if that makes sense. So if you are able to keep calm, it means you are able to not show your feelings when under pressure, if that makes sense. So therefore, the right answer to this one, consistent with the previous answer, is least like me. You should always be aware that it is never good to show emotions, especially under stress or pressure. So therefore, the answer to this question, I would suggest, is least like me. Now let's look at a question when there's not really a right or wrong answer. The statement reads, I prefer dealing with practicalities rather than complex ideas. The answer to this question will hugely be dependent on the type of role or the type of job you are applying to. Using the consultant and software engineer example, if you are to be applying to become a software engineer, practicalities is important. It is important to write your codes bug-free and logical. Whereas if you're applying to become a consultant, it is important to have complex ideas to problem solve. The clients will come to you with an issue, and it's good to have the complexity. Whereas practicality is more of the back end after you complete the general big ideas. So the answer to this question would be hugely dependent on the role. I would advise against going for the two extremes, so least like me and most like me, when it comes to this sort of question where there's not really a right or wrong answer, but tailor it towards the type of role this job is requiring. So for example, if you would be applying to become a software engineer, I would go with the like me option, whereas if I'd be applying to become a consultant, I would go with the unlike me option. The next statement is one that there is a correct answer, but it's not good to go for both extremes. So let me explain. The statement reads, I enjoy spending time organizing and planning tasks. Part of a working culture is that you should be able to manage your time and plan your tasks accordingly. But the flip side of that is over planning and over organization actually eats into your daily hours, so your time. So it's actually not good to go for most like me, because it conveys the idea that you spend more time planning than actually doing stuff. So therefore, the right answer I would suggest is like me. It is not good to go with anything less than that, because it suggests that you just go in straight ahead without doing your planning, and it is not a desirable trait. Let's jump into a more difficult question. I can easily ignore criticisms from others. This is a tough question because there is no right answer. It really depends on who you are as a person to whether or not you can ignore these criticisms. So there's positives and negatives to both sides. If you go for something along the lines of most like me or like me, it means you're able to filter out the criticism from other people and you're able to keep focused on your own task at hand. Whereas if you go for the least like me or unlike me options, what it shows the recruiters is that you are actually able to understand and listen to the criticism given by other people and learn and adapt to it. So it shows you're a good listener. So this is really a balance between what you want to convey yourself as. For this sort of question, it is okay to go for neutral because there's not really a right or wrong answer. But however, I would suggest that the right answer is unlike me, because the ability to listen is actually really important. So when other people criticize you, it's not okay just to completely ignore it. Criticisms comes from a point. So they usually criticize you for an area that you have not done too well in. So to be able to listen to that and adapt and learn from that is actually quite important. So therefore, I would suggest that the right answer is unlike me. However, you can go for the one answer that more demonstrates your personal characteristics and your personal traits. For everyone who's watching this video who prefers stability and prefers not changing, this question might hit you by surprise. So I actively seek out exciting challenges. So for myself, I prefer stability. I like routine. I like it when I'm doing a job that I've done before and I can follow the same pattern and steps that the job has previously assigned me to do. However, this question is testing the ability to look for more challenges, to work outside your comfort zone. So I actively seek out exciting challenges. It shows your interest in the topic. Even if I am a stable person and I prefer stability, I should not answer this question as least like me, because it shows that I'm not engaging in new challenges and new tasks. So therefore, it's not good to lie in this sort of psychometric testing, but I would suggest that you go along the lines of neutral, like me, or most like me. So for me, I would pick like me. This is an easy question. I like to understand others' point of view. As I've alluded constantly throughout this video, is that listening is very, very important. The idea of a teamwork space and environment where each person listens to the other person's opinion, even though they might disagree, is important. The important thing is to listen. So to understand brings it to the next level. So I like to understand others' point of view, shows that you are open-minded and your willingness to listen and actually absorb the contents of what the other person is suggesting. So this trait is always desirable in any team environment, and I will highly suggest you go for most like me. Again, quite a complicated question. I sometimes find adapting to new situations quite challenging. So what this question is essentially saying is that you find it hard to adapt to a new situation. This is not a good trait to have because in the corporate world or when you are working, there are constant changes. You have to constantly adapt to these changes. Therefore, the right answer to this one, as I would suggest, is unlike me. So in other words, I am able to adapt to new situations, and I find it not challenging and quite easy. We have now encountered a trick questions. So throughout the psychometric testing, it is important to understand that some statements actually question you on the same thing. So if you notice for this statement, I enjoy working with complex problems, it actually brings us back to one of the questions that we've previously answered, is I prefer dealing with practicalities rather than complex ideas. So you have to be consistent. In that question, if you say that you enjoy complex ideas, for this one, you have to go, I enjoy with complex ideas. It's always good to mirror what you've previously answered to show consistency in your personality. If you go with the completely wrong answer, so for example, in the I prefer dealing with practicalities question, you say you prefer practicalities. And when you come to this question, you say, I really enjoy complex ideas. It really shows a difference in your answer and raises a flag for the test providers. They will say, think of you as an inconsistent person and it's not good on your report. So always be consistent. Whatever you answer in the previous question, mirror it here. Helping others to develop is a desirable trait, but some of you would be cautious of the fact that you are applying to an internship or a junior role where you might not have the luxury to help others develop and shy away from the extreme answers, such as most like me. However, I encourage you to not. Helping others develop, no matter what stage you are or what hierarchical position you are in the corporate, it is always a positive trait to have. So therefore, the answer to this question I would suggest is most like me. To be consistent with the previous question, this statement would mirror your answer to the previous question, which is I enjoy helping others develop. So if you enjoy helping others develop, most people would likely describe you as very helpful. So if you went for most like me in that question, go for the same in this one. The last question we will look at today is I invest a large amount of time to get the details right. So this question is one of those questions where there's not really a right answer again, but there is a preferable answer. So depending on the job you are applying to, detail could be quite important. So back to the software engineer versus consulting roles, a software engineer, it is vitally important to get the details right. So for this sort of question, it would be good to go for like me. Notice I did not go for the extremes because there is a trade-off. If you say you invest a large amount of time, it means that you are actually using a lot of time, which decreases your efficiency, if that makes sense. So avoid the two extremes, but tailor your answer into balance of either side. So like me or unlike me, this 25%, 75% mark, dependent on the role. To conclude the video, I'd like to just say that I've actually written on a very similar article on the blog. So if you visit Everyday Uni Student, I would attach the link below to have a read of the methodology. This video is actually quite fast-paced. I've covered a lot of detail and a lot of content in a short amount of time. So it's good to go to the blog and actually read up on the methodology and answering this type of questions. Other than that, I would like to thank you guys all for making it this far in the video. I really wish you guys all the best of luck when it comes to applications, and I'm always here to answer questions. So if you leave a question in a comment, I'll get back to it as soon as I possibly can. Consider subscribing, and I would like to pump out more of this sort of content and detail just to assist the everyday uni student like myself. Thank you.